So what's going on, everybody? We have this conversation a lot in the design world. What is branding? What is not branding? Branding is not just one thing when it comes to building it. It's a bunch of little things put together that creates a brand, that builds a brand. So I'm going to give you my take on branding and what it means to me. And I hope at some level it resonates with you and it'll help you kind of get a better understanding of what exactly branding is. Because it's either sexy and exciting or it's boring as hell. And I want to show you why, in my opinion, not because I do this for a living, but why branding is so sexy and why it's so diverse and so versatile and why it's so important to your business. Hold on one second. So with all that said, like what is branding? So there's a bunch of different things that fall into the branding bucket, right? It's not just one of these things, but it's all of these things combined. So, branding starts with a desired perception. There's a guy out there called Reed Perez, and he's a brander like myself, and he brought this up in a conversation one day at one of these conferences, and he talked about how branding is a desired perception. It has nothing to do about how you perceive it. It's how your audience perceives your brand. So branding's broken down in my eyes into three things: identity, messaging, and experience. So what falls into each category? Well, identity, that starts with your logo and your imagery and the way you look and present your brand to the world. If it looks polished and professional, you're going to attract polished and professional. If it looks cheap and amateur, chances are you're not going to attract the polished and professional client or customer that you may want to attract. So that's identity. The messaging is the position that you hold and stand for, and the values that you stand for has a lot to do with your messaging. And one of the biggest things that I'm learning in 2017 is how we all must refine our messaging on a daily basis. Not every 6 months, not quarterly, on a daily basis. How well we refine our messaging to our audience is going to determine how well we do with our profits. I mean, that's the bottom line. I think brands are saying too much. I think brands are not being clear on who it is that they truly want to serve. And when you don't have that clarity, then how do you expect your audience to understand you? So, for example, I did a brand audit yesterday very, very quickly with one of my clients, and I saw their website, and there was men on it, there was women on it, there was products being sold, there was all these different products and features, and it gave me a headache the minute I hit the page. I didn't know what it is that they even actually do. And their audience probably feels the same way. So when you break branding down into simplistic forms, because what is it now? Like we get hit individually, we get hit with like 3,000 ads a day. So how the hell does our brain even compute that kind of information and that quantity of information? And so when you simplify things down, you don't use as many calories, as Don Miller says, when you go to comprehend things. And the less calories we have to use to understand, the easier it is to make a decision. I'll say it again. The less calories we need to use to comprehend, the easier it is to make a decision. So I think we need to take a look at our websites and our branding and our messaging and say, are we saying too much? And if we are, how do we break this down into bite-sized pieces? How do we break it down into step 1, step 2, step 3? And how do we communicate the benefit that our audience is going to receive if they choose to hire us, if they choose to come on board with us? So that's messaging. And then experience is very simple. It's how easy is it for your audience to work with you? What type of feeling do they receive after working with you? What type of feeling do they receive when they're working with you? And what type of feeling do they receive prior to working with you? So that experience is going to basically paint the picture of your brand. And that is the most important of them all, I think, is experience. How easy is it to work with you? Because the easier you make it, the less calories that they're burning. And it just makes life easier for them, makes life easier for you. And it's a happy medium. I mean, it's a win-win situation. So that, to me, in a nutshell, is exactly what branding is. It's your identity, it's your messaging, and it's the experience that your audience receives. So real quick, in identity, we want to make sure that these 7 things are congruent. It's logo, it's voice, it's imagery, it's design, it's positioning, fonts, and color. How can I forget that? Fonts and color. And those aren't super, super important, but they do stand for your brand. And when they're not consistent with the other 5, there's a big disconnect. And that's what slips the mind. That's what creates confusion. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of nowadays. It's people have a great message, but they don't have a great identity. They have a great identity, they don't have a great message. And the experience, forget about experience, because the client isn't even getting that far yet because they're confused about the messaging and the identity. So that is, in a nutshell, what branding is to me. And again, there's very different components to it. And if you don't get them right, you're hemorrhaging money. You're losing thousands of dollars per day. I believe it. I see it. I see people before they come to me for work, they have a great business. They have a great, I shouldn't say business, they have a great product or service that can serve thousands of people, but their messaging is often nobody understands what they do. These are passionate people. They love working with people. They love trying to make the world a better place, but nobody's resonating with them because their messaging is off. Or on the flip, their identity is so amateur looking that I don't care how powerful the message is, they're not connecting with their audience because the audience does not believe them because they look spammy and amateur. And it's a sin, because here's the biggest problem. The entrepreneurs, prior to coming to me, they don't even know that this problem exists inside. They don't even know that they have a problem until somebody like me comes along, or somebody that's in this business and does this for a living comes along and says, here's where you sprung a leak. Here is where you're leaking profits from poor branding. And it's my job to kind of putty up and spackle that hole and get their messaging more refined, get their identity more polished so that they actually connect. And that's it. That's it in a nutshell. So, all right, guys, and now let me look at some of these comments. Yeah, Boise Now, I see, says hi. Oh, tell the crew I said what's up. And then Bradley Gibbs, what's up, Henry? What's going on, Brad? So anyway, guys, that's it. That's what branding really stands for to me. And you really need to get this right if you want a powerful brand, bottom line. So I'll catch you guys later.